changes in India. So it's a very interesting board and an interesting journey out there. Avinnash is still with us. Avinnash, I'm going to ask you to comment on this as a market person. Of course, the two new banks, Bandhan and IDFC Bank, they come in at a very tough time for the banking sector, and it is a time when the large private sector banks are really fighting back and on the forefront of this entire technology revolution, so to say. Axis, ICICI. What are the 2-3 things that you were thinking of when you were listening to Rajiv Lal?
No, I think one thing which he clearly mentioned was technology is going to be the cutting edge. I think clearly the other part is, they don't have any legacy issues, so no issues about, bad assets. But I think it's going to be a very challenging period for IDFC because obviously the market is large, but to create a retail base, IDFC has never been a retail focused finance player, so that could be the big challenge. But over the next, say, 3 to 5 years, I'm quite sure that, IDFC would obviously emerge as one of the, larger private sector banks. In fact, the kind of quality of management, I think definitely holds promise, but I think it's going to be a tough call. In the short to medium term, maybe, from a banking perspective, it could be difficult to, earn a ROE in excess of 1%. But I think the key challenge would be to create the geographical network and to build the CASA, which is very important and which is a very strong, kind of input for most of the other private sector players.
Fair enough. And it's amazing to see the birth of an institution and see how it pans out. So we will, of course, get you more on the entire process and also get you Rajiv Lal as and when he's ready to share with us the entire gamut of strategy out there. But let's get back to the business of value picks. This is a market where there are lots of interesting value picks. We spoke about Ashok Leyland. I'm going to get on to the other 3 stocks that you have. But Avinnash, in the auto sector, after the kind of rise that we've seen on Ashok Leyland, do you think it's still the most compelling buy among the lot? Because it's also question of how expensive stocks are.
No, I think if you look at the relative kind of difference between let's say other private sector players like maybe a Tata Motors or maybe a Mahindra, Ashok Leyland stands out because it's a focused player. More importantly, I personally would say that the operating leverage has not yet come in completely. We are going to see a lot of action on the non-core business. Ashok Leyland management is also talking about getting a listing for its financial services arm. So my sense is I think there could be a lot of balance sheet restructuring even going forward, and that could possibly further re-rate the stock. Mind you, this is a macro related stock, so any improvement on the macro numbers, and clearly we've been seeing 30-40% volume growth. So even if we see 20 to 25% volumes stabilizing for the next 12-18 months, I think there's definitely some sort of better risk reward ratio here compared to maybe a Tata Motors which has got problems related to China. Mahindra is having problem with the tractor business, and Maruti definitely will do well. But if you look at the valuations, Mini, I think clearly the risk reward looks better here.
Great. So we've got about 2 minutes on this show, so I'm going to quickly recap 3 other picks that you have. Dish TV, very in news because of the possibility of an FBI cap going up to 100%. Innox Wind, a new player, and Treehouse Education, an interesting pick again. What do you like about these 3?
No, I think Dish TV has a perpetual business model. More importantly, now it's turned around after almost 7 to 8 years. The best part of the business is that as compared to cable operators, the Dish TV business is definitely more profitable. A 30% EBITDA is definitely positive, and I think going forward in the next 2 to 3 years, the kind of subscriber addition Dish is making, I would not be surprised that you could see a big significant increase in profitability for Dish. So clearly, I think this is a multi-year story. It's not a 6-month or 1-year story. As far as Inox Wind is concerned, again, renewable energy is the focus of the government. Wind energy, if you see the kind of performance Inox has played over the last 3-4 years before it went public, I think a return on equity of almost 29%, ROC of 23%, and more importantly, a CAGR EPS growth of almost 60 to 70% over the next 2 years definitely makes it look attractive if one takes a 12 to 18 month view. And finally, on Treehouse, Mini, I think, this is a business which is very profitable. I think in the education business, we don't see many companies earning a EBITDA of 60% and a net profit margin of 30%. So clearly, here the opportunity is very big. The preschool market in India is just growing by leaps and bounds. It just, would require a little bit of patience to be invested in.
Okay. One last question on Dish TV. One view is that with broadband and the whole rollout of 4G, the traditional players in DTH, etc., are going to be threatened, and it's a business on the decline. What would you say to that?
No, I think Dish TV definitely, for that reason, the DTH business would definitely face a little bit of onslaught after broadband is available freely. But if you see the customer base for most of the DTH users, it's a mass product. And clearly, as the market is very big, clearly we are talking of just about 1.2 crore customers for Dish. The market size is very big. So obviously broadband and DTH could possibly coexist together. And I think the kind of competitive pricing which already most of the DTH players have announced, I would not be surprised that possibly both would complement each other.
Fair enough, Avinnash. Thanks so much for your picks. Those are a couple of picks from Avinnash, and that's it on Bloomberg Bottom Line. We'll be back with more value picks, more sector-focused discussions, and of course, from the headquarters. Don't miss that out on Monday. Thanks so much for joining us. Goodbye.